Making chord progressions is easy. But making interesting, soulful chord progressions can be much harder. Personally, I tend to always come up with very similar chord progressions, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can make you feel like you're stuck and making the same beats over and over again. Especially in genres like R&B and Neo-Soul, the chords play a very big role in giving that beautiful, soulful feeling to your melodies. So for this video, I brought a guest who's great at playing the keys and always comes up with really dope chord progressions. And he's gonna teach us some of his techniques and approaches to make his progressions more interesting. But before we get into it, let me tell you about the sponsor of this video, which is Mixed in Key. If you're a beginner at music theory and don't understand all the concepts, or if you just want some quick inspiration without having to think about all that complicated stuff, their Captain Chords plugin is perfect for you. Captain Chords is a very easy to use chord progression generator and can give you a great starting point for your melodies. So first of all, you can choose the scale you want to work in up here, and then you can start by adding the chords. You can choose the scale degrees for each chord and also add variations of that chord. Or you can just go to the progression tab right here, choose a genre, and then you can either choose a progression from here or randomize it with these dices. Of course, you can also modify these chords, and you can also invert them with these arrows to make the progression sound a bit more natural. And you can choose some rhythm presets that can help you come up with really interesting stuff. Similar to the progression tab here, you can also choose the genre and then choose one of the rhythms or just randomize it. Here at the bottom you can modify your progression even more. You can modify for how long each chord plays, and like that you can also add transition chords, for example. You can also play around with adding different rhythms for different parts, and you can play around with the velocities to add some movement and emphasize some chords. And yeah, once you're happy with your progression, you have a few different possibilities. You can drag and drop your MIDI right here, or you can just use the sound from the plugin. They have many different sound presets that you can also sound design and modify how you want. Or you can scan the plugins you have and then choose the one you want right here. Or you can also directly send the MIDI to any plugin by assigning a MIDI output port and then using that as the input port in the plugin you want. So if you want to check out the plugin, I'll leave a link down in the description. Thanks a lot Mixed in Key for sponsoring this video. And now let's make our own chords.
My name's Raya. I'm an R&B, alternative R&B producer as well. Super excited to be doing this, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some chord progressions, break down some cool stuff that you guys can take away. Okay, so I've been kind of cooking up a little bit of a fire chord progression in the background that I kind of want to break down for you guys because I think it's super, super cool. I'm going to play it once, and then we'll kind of talk about the theory behind it, some of the ideas that I was breaking into. So it sounds a little bit like this. So it seems like a little bit funky there when you start adding in all the trills or whatever, but actually when you break down the chords, there's some really, really simple stuff going on here. Kind of the foundation for what I was going for is using our 2-5-1s and using our diminished chords. That movement from a 5 chord in the key to the 1 chord, the home chord. So let's start with the first chord I'm playing here. It sounds like this. And we're on the C sharp, but actually this chord is kind of hiding. It looks fancy, but really we're playing our C major triad. We're adding our 7th. And this last one is the same as our first note to give us basically a C sharp dominant 7. Now the cool thing is this here is the 5 chord that's going to take us to the 1 in our key, which is here.
So are you starting with the dominant chord?
That's right, straight away, getting a little bit of tension.
See, that's something I would never think about, for example.
Yeah, that's a super handy technique. If you want to find a way to get into your chord progressions besides just starting on the one of your key. So we're going to start here, straight away giving that tension, coming to our F sharp, and this here is a F sharp minor 7, adding that 9. And what you're hearing when I'm playing the keys is I'm playing a little roll to take us from the 1 to the 2 here. So it sounds like this. So from the top, we've got this.
So that's our like one chord, right?
That's right. That's right.
When you started, do you think about it like, I want to make something in like F sharp minor? Or do you think about like the chord you start with? Or are you just doing random stuff? Or how are you approaching it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that really depends on, first of all, where you are in your music theory journey. So at the moment, I'm using a lot of my ear. And ultimately, if you're listening to what your ear says, you're going to find some cool things that you might not be able to find otherwise. So this one example where I started here, and my ear is naturally wanting to take me to that 1. So I didn't know I was in the key of F sharp, but when I played that first chord, you kind of have that urge to resolve it, and it took me there. So there's one way to go about it, and the other way is to say, if I want to play an F sharp, what's the 5th before that? And if we're going to play an F sharp here, and we look in the scale, C sharp is our 5th. So we can get the exact same destination by going a different route. We could say, okay, if that's my 5th, I want to play an F sharp. Let's play that first, this second. So now we've established the home key. This is where we are. What I'm going to do now, add a little bit more source, a little bit more tension, and we're going to play the 7 chord, which I'm going to play like this. Okay, so we've got the F here, which is a 7 here in this scale. G sharp, B, D, to build that diminished chord. And I love using those when I'm resolving just below and I'm going up to a particular chord. So that can work in any situation. And if I'm playing, for example, C minor, playing this same can give you that really strong urge as well. That's a really cool technique to put in. So it sounds like this all together with that. It goes. And then back to that 1.
So how are you choosing like the F for the root note? We're in F sharp minor, right? So the
That's
F
right.
is not in the scale right now.
No. Okay, so F sharp major is. So that's our F sharp major scale, right? And we're looking for an F sharp minor. So if we're using the minor scale, then no, the F isn't in there. But that's why the diminished is so powerful, right? Here, it seems fancy. We're actually borrowing from different scales. So this F sharp here, technically, it's borrowed from the parallel major scale. But you don't need to think of it that way if it's not helpful. I personally don't, because I'm recognizing whenever I'm playing a minor chord, I have that diminished chord below to get there. And that's always going to be there, which is so, so cool, especially if you're looking for that sound. So you can see there's kind of 2 ways to think about it, right? There's the theory way, which is a great way to describe to people, let people know and replicate. And there's another side where you're using your ear, you're using something that maybe you haven't seen before. And I like to combine those 2 to get some sounds that I really, really like. So let's run it from the top, what we've got so far. And I'm going to play an inversion here, but same notes. See that F, B, D, F, and G sharp. I only played that because it's closer. Back to the 1, all same notes. And then notice what I'm about to do to get to where I was. This C right here is another diminished, using the same thing that we used just a second ago to go up 1 semitone to our first place again. So really, we're only using 2 or 3 different tricks here. That 5 to 1, that use of the diminished, a semitone below. These are just small things that we can kind of put together and end up with something really cool. If you put it all together, it sounds like this. 5 to the 1, diminished 7 to 1, diminished 7 coming to
The way you explained it really helped, because in the beginning it felt like it's all these complicated chords, but at the end of the day it's pretty much just like these two chords, like the C sharp and the F sharp, and then these diminished chords as like little in-between kind of chords, which I think really helps to take away, like, you know, the fear of complicated chords a bit, to think about it as just like these two chords, and then you do some stuff to transition between them.
That's right. And it's such a great way to think about it. If you're building out chords that you feel like you may already know, having just a few places where you can pass through some 5/1s, those diminished type thing, those are really good ways to add that spice and that flavor. And then suddenly your chord progression sounds super, super complex. So theory doesn't have to be super scary. It doesn't have to be something that's very, very tough. I encourage people to kind of take it one trick at a time, try it in their beats, see how they get on with it. And before they know it, they're going to be making stuff they really love.
Yeah, man, it's really dope. Also, like, I think you didn't really talk about it, but I feel like inversions and stuff really help. I noticed it when you played like the diminished F chord the second time with the inversion. It sounded much like cooler and cohesive to me than before.
That's a great point. So when I'm thinking about inversions, obviously coming at it from a keys player perspective, a lot of what we're going to do is going to be how can we minimize how much we move our fingers. It just so happens that when you don't move your fingers and your notes aren't too far away from each other, you end up with something that sounds much more coherent. So I'll give another example with this chord progression, right? I chose to start quite high for this one. It sounds quite bright, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to be there. If you notice, this chord that I'm playing here is very similar to the diminished chord, only one note different. So if I wanted to, I could have played this chord down here. So all of these places where you could actually keep the chords in a very tight cluster leads to something called voice leading, where the notes kind of follow in a very natural pattern and they don't jump from place to place to place. That's a great thing to think about if you're thinking about inversions.
Definitely, yeah. Whenever I play stuff in and then move it around in the piano roll, I tend to just almost try to make all the chords like look the same, kind of. So it's like just this one block going to the right, which just really sticks it together, I feel like, which is really cool.
And what you're going to find is not only do the chord progressions seem to flow together a little bit nicer, but actually on a slightly different note, if you're mixing as well, that's going to make mixing the whole instrument a lot easier because it's not traveling across loads and loads of different frequencies that you have to account for, right? If you have something that sits in a very smooth place, it's very easy to manage when you get to the stage where you want to think about getting those really, really nice mixes. So just another thing that's going to help on top.
True.
That's it, guys. I encourage everybody to give it a try. Give some music-free stuff a try. If you have any questions or whatever, jump in a Discord, jump in Lucid's Discord as well. I'm in there, so I'm happy to answer any questions. But yeah, good luck, guys. Keep making some R&B.
Thanks for being here, Raya. So if you could learn something, get some inspiration, or just enjoy this chord progression, make sure to go and show some love to Raya. I really enjoy watching his videos, and we also made a video for his channel. By the time you're seeing this video, his video should be out as well, I think, or come very soon. Also make sure to check out his Spotify, he makes really dope songs. And now let's take his chord progression and make a beat with it. So Raya sent me the MIDI for the progression, so let's drag this in here. Let me just clean this up a little bit. Alright, that's a great starting point, and I already kind of have an idea what I want to do with this. So first of all, I think I want to slow it down a bit, maybe 110. And then I want to simplify this a bit, not because I don't like it, but because I want to add a bit more variation. Let me show you what I mean. So let's push this over here. And then I really like this chord switch. So I want to kind of make that like the main thing of the progression. So let's copy this over. And just make it all a bit simpler. then switch this chord up a little bit maybe. I'm thinking we could put the root note down to the D, and that way we turn it from this F sharp minor chord to this D major chord. And then I probably also want to change this to an A. I really like that as our main progression, and I'm thinking we could also change this from this dominant 7 chord to the minor 7 chord. That way there's a bit less tension in the beginning, and also when it switches over to the dominant 7 chord, which we still have here, it will sound much more interesting and add even more variation. So we have this as our main section. And then this part where there's a bit more going on, we can use that sometimes for some variation. So that's a perfect foundation, and I think I want to go for like an Isaiah Falls kind of beat. Very R&B, very atmospheric, soft and soulful. First of all, because I think this chord progression is perfect for this kind of beat, and also because I got this new wah guitar pedal, which I really want to try and use. But first of all, I want to enhance these chords a bit. I always love to layer my Rhodes with a key sound that has a bit more high end and sparkles a bit. That's sounding great, and now I think I want to also layer that with a pad, just to give it even more ambience and make it feel really wide. I might even use this string pad to give it more of that classic R&B kind of feeling. And now let's grab the guitar and, like I said, add some wah pedal action. So if you don't know what a wah pedal is, the official definition is a device that lets you play the wrist sound effect. So yeah, let's see if we can add some of that to the chords. And then I think I'll just play around a bit and see if I can find some melodies, play in some random stuff, and then pick the best slices as always. So these are the slices I found. I think they sound really dope. That chord change is so dope. And I think with that as the foundation, I want to start adding some drums. And we can always come back to the melody later and add a bit more stuff. But I think I want to get 8 drum bones first. And I want to make the drums very soft, still really bouncy, but I want to have that very soft and gentle kind of vibe. And I think I might start with a little percussion loop, something like this. If you want to get stuff like this percussion loop and also like melody elements and full samples and starters, you can check out my Lucid Weekly subscription. It's only $5 a month. And you get a pack with stuff like this every single week. Okay, let me get a kick drum. For the snare, I want something very soft, I think. For the hi-hat, I want it very spaced out as well, I think. I think I'm hearing like just That's exactly like the bounce that I imagined. Spaced out, very soft, but still bouncy. Okay, time for a bass line, I think. I think I'm hearing like something like this. Boom. That's hard. I want to see what the wah pedal sounds like on my bass guitar. I feel like if that sounds cool, we could layer a few notes of the bass with that to give it a bit more texture. Pretty cool. Let's just layer these first two notes. Let's use only the high end of that because we don't want any clashing in the bass. Let's see what we can do for the arrangement. Let's add some ambience and texture in the beginning. We could add some strings maybe for some build-up. We could add a bass line for the intro, pretty much the same we already have, just with the live bass. Here I want this guitar melody that we have, but on the bass line. The way it drops is so dope. So I'd say that section is like a verse kind of section, and then we just need half of that for the chorus. For the chorus, maybe we could add an actual snare to add some more energy. And probably like a steady hi-hat kind of thing. We could maybe even add the strings. Perfect, I think that's it for the beat. It turned out really dope. I'll go and mix this properly now and then I'll show you the final result. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and could learn something. Again, big shout out to Raya for being in this video. Make sure to check him out. Thanks again Mixed in Key for sponsoring this video. And yeah, thanks for watching.